its staff, management, or sponsors.
This is Alyssa, the paint girl. Car accidents happen. Get the most affordable, convenient, superior vehicle repair with concierge service. The Paint Girl provides pickup and delivery with no additional cost. Our body shops have over 30 years combined experience. The Paint Girl handles all makes, models, lease return repairs, and insurance claims. Your smart choice for vehicle repair, The Paint Girl. Call 954-691-7024. That's 954-691-7024.
1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. Listen for A Touch of Gray, the talk show for adults, with Carol Marks and Michael Harrison, Saturdays at 1. Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM, W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
What is the Del Walmsley Radio Show?
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom.
Listen to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, Mondays at 5, Tuesday through Friday at noon on WNN.
Talk here. Talk there. Talk 1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. WNN.
Welcome to the Soflo Business Corner. My name is Tom Hibbert. I want to welcome all business owners to come onto the show and share and grow their business. So let's get on with the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Tom Hibbert, and I am the host of the Soflo Business Corner. I am here with, we have a fantastic show today. I'm so excited. I can't even get my words out straight. We have an amazing show. We have Julie G with Genero, right?
Genero, yes.
Genero with Akasha Records. She's going to be going over some fantastic stuff that I've never learned about, and we're going to learn together. It's going to be fantastic. And then we have Suzanne Watchell. Who we're going to talk about. We're going to have a great discussion about divorces and children of divorce and grief. It's going to be a fantastic show. There's going to be a lot of great knowledge, a lot of great information that we have, and I am stoked. Before we get started, though, I want everybody to know that we are going to be out live in Boynton Beach. We have our Boynton Beach networking event. It's a free event. You just pay for your food. That's going to be on you. If you eat, you eat. If you don't, you don't. We're going to be at the Boynton Beach Olive Garden on Monday, May 7th from 11:30 to 1:30. It's going to be a fantastic event. We have fantastic business owners that are part of our groups that come out to them all the time. So I want to make sure everybody knows about that, because it is going to be an unbelievable time for everybody involved. So that being said, let me welcome my first guest, Julie Genero, right?
Yes, that's good. You're doing very good. You're doing very good.
I'm trying. So I mentioned a little bit about what you do, but can you explain a little bit more in detail about what Akasha Records is and how you do that?
Right. So the Akashic Records is the vast library of our thoughts, our actions, and our experiences. So it's also it's the living history of the universe and each and every one of us. So these are etheric records where we can come for guidance to be able to live our best life. And that's pretty much in a nutshell what the Akashic Records are about. I am an Akashic Records consultant and teacher. As a consultant, what I do is I work with people doing private consultations, accessing their book of life. It's also called the Book of Life. So accessing their book of life for information on how to get clarity and unbiased guidance on what are the best choices, like I said, so we can live our best life. As a teacher, I teach classes so people can learn how to access their own records on their own. So then they don't have to come to a consultant. They can do this on their own. And if they're called to do this as a service for others, they can do a certification to be able to be a consultant as well. So those are the classes that I teach.
So for you as a certified consultant, you had to actually be certified in this. You had to take classes and be a part of the network. How long did that take you?
It took to be at the classes to be able to access my own records is it's 2 levels, and then there's another level to be able to access the records to read for another person.
Okay.
And then to be a teacher, that took about 2 years.
Oh wow. Okay. So you've been doing this for a while
I've
now.
been doing this for a while.
So
Yes.
what did you do before this, or have you always been involved in this Akasha Records and?
No. Before this, I had fun working in the business world.
What kind of fun was that?
That's right. It was fun, but not as much fun as this is. So I did different things. I worked in mostly in a corporate environment. Most recently, I used to do corporate meeting planning. And so, yeah, that was fun. Very stressful, but a lot of fun.
I bet.
Yeah.
But I see, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but your face changed when you started talking a little bit about what you used to do versus what you do now. You seem to love everything that you do. Why? What is your passion behind the Akasha Records? Why do you love it so much? What do you feel from that?
Well, I think, Tommy, I think it goes back to, purpose. I think we each of us have a purpose. And when we figure that out, it's like pieces clicking. So I kind of say, when I was born with the gift of claircognizance. So that means it's called direct knowing, and or clear knowing. And so I've always had a connection to, I would say, divine information. Of course, for many years, I wouldn't have quite put it that way. For me, that's just the way I am, and I thought the rest of the world was that way as well. So there's that part of it, but it's something that I never really thought I would work at as a business or anything until I started opening up more and more to spiritual growth, let's put it that way, self-realization, working on self-realization, and then the Akashic Records found me. And when it did, I didn't go looking for it, it found me. And when it did, it was like the pieces of a puzzle clicked. And I just knew this is what I'm meant to be doing.
That's awesome. So you said that the Akasha Records found you. How did they find you? How does that work?
I did several things. The actual way that I came across the Akashic Records, or we met, is that I went to a workshop on what is called the medical Qigong. We shouldn't call it medical, but that's kind of an easier way of describing it. It's kind of sort of the shamanic aspect of Qigong. Let's call it that. So I went to that workshop and I met a bunch of people who were Reiki masters and working in the spiritual aspect of things, let's put it that way. And the person who became my teacher was also there. And so she told me that this is what she does. She does the Akashic Records. And so when she used the word Akashic Records, for some reason it rang a bell. There was a familiarity to it. So that in and of itself told me that this is something I needed to look at and learn. And
it was something that you knew before you even knew it. Is that right?
That kind of thing where there's a knowing before you know it. Yeah. So when I took the first class, it clicked. And when she says, I also teach classes on how to teach, I said, yes, that's what I need to be doing.
Now, forgive me for my ignorance on this.
No, it's not ignorance. I love it. Please ask me, please.
What is the difference between going through Akasha Records and the psychics you see on TV? And because there's been a lot of frauds out there in the past. So can you explain a little bit about what it is with Akasha Records versus the clairvoyance and stuff like that? What's the difference? Is there a difference?
There is a difference. And that's not to say that one is better than the other. There are two different modalities. That's what it boils down to. They're just two different modalities. Psychic readings tend to be more about prediction and forecasting. And the Akashic Records is accessing your own personal book of life for guidance. So the difference is, let's say we come to Tommy's book of life. And if you remind me, I'll explain where the term book of life comes from. So let's say we access Tommy's book of life. Maybe you need clarity on making a business decision. You want to grow your business, and there are many different ways that you could go about doing this. And because you're so attached to your business, you're attached to the outcome that you want. You're so involved in this, you're so busy that there's no clarity. So the Akashic Records, being your book of life, knows you like God does. So then you would come for a consultation and ask, okay, so I have these choices before me. Which do we, and there's a way of asking questions. It's usually, the questions are framed in a journalistic format so that we can get the clearest answers. And these answers have nothing to do with your ego. They're unbiased answers that are for your highest and greatest good. So we would ask a question regarding, with these choices in front of me, which would possibly be the one that would give you the outcome that you're looking for, or which is for the higher and greater good of the business. And something to that effect, and we would get answers that is for the highest and greatest good of what you're asking about. That does not necessarily mean it will be what you want to hear. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, because sometimes we get...
we we don't want to hear sometimes our own truths.
Exactly.
But I'm actually kind of curious. One, I'm going to touch on that book of life in a second. But if you're asking these questions and you're trying to go through it without an ego-based approach.
Correct.
I have met plenty of people out there that have that ego. So when you're asking these questions and you're going through them, I guess what I'm asking is, how do you get through to those people that do have that ego, that can't answer their own questions honestly?
Right.
And can you tell can you tell when they're not answering honestly?
Okay, so if I'm understanding right, what you're saying is, let's say someone who has a gigantic ego wants a consultation. And so they're coming for a consultation. Their ego doesn't matter. What matters is the question that they're asking. In that scenario, their ego doesn't come into play. It's my ego that would come into play. If I would be reacting to, say, their ego, then I will create a block for myself from getting the unbiased answer that they need. Now, the only way in which their ego would come into play is if they refuse to be open to the information that's flowing through for
I think
them.
that's more the question, because I mean, there's a lot of people. Because I'm sure your questions that you ask are very, very tough, tough questions.
Yes.
So especially when you get a first-time consultation or something along those lines, a lot of people are not very open to answering questions. I talk to people about their businesses all day long, and they're not even honest about their own business. Oh, I do this, I do that, I do this. And so when people are talking about themselves, how do you break through to get them to actually give you that openness and that honestness?
Well, first of all, I think I detect I detect something here. So let me do a clarification. So the answers are not going to be coming from them. They're only going to be asking questions that goes through to their book of life. The answers will be coming from their book of life. Their answers flow through from the Akashic realm. So the answers doesn't come from them. They ask questions of their Akashic records.
Oh, okay. So in other words, they're the ones asking the questions.
They're the ones asking the questions. Exactly. So that's why I said, if they have a ginormous ego, it wouldn't really affect. The only way it would affect is if they're not open to the answers that are flowing through for them.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down now. I get it.
Yes. I should have been more clear about that.
Well, no. This is what this is all about,
right? Yes.
Yeah, so, actually, I think right now let's take a break, because I think this is going to lead right into our next part of the subject, where we're going to actually talk about the process and what goes through from there. So, we'll be right back right after this. Attention all South Florida business owners. Are you ready for the summer? My name's Tom Hibbert, and I am the host of Soflo Mixers. We create networking events from Palm Beach Gardens all the way down to Fort Lauderdale, and we create fun, engaging, and more importantly, effective events to help network. And we want to network with you. Check out our next event on Facebook.com/Soflo Mixers or text Soflo, SOFLO, to 80800. Check us out. Welcome back to the Soflo Business Corner. If you want to join the show, call 1-888-565-1470. We want to hear from you. Once again, that number is 1-888-565-1470. Now let's get back to the show. Welcome back. My name's Tom Hibbert, and I am the host of the Soflo Business Corner. We're sitting here with Julie Gennaro, and we are talking about Akasha Records. When right before the break, we were talking about we were just starting to get into the process of going through what the Akasha Records are and really understanding the process of what somebody does. And that's actually where I want to start. I want to start with, let's say I am your next client. Mm-hmm. I want to know roughly what is the consultation about? What are we going to go through? And what does it mean to me? Sitting down with you. Okay.
So let's say, again, let's come back to the scenario where you want clarity either in your personal life or on a business matter. So you would call and you would say you want to request a consultation. There is a protocol. There are ways, for instance, no alcohol 24 hours prior. Mm-hmm. So we would have to, I would send you all the necessary information so you can prepare for this consultation. I would send you.
Well, let's start there. What kind of preparations would I need to take sitting down with you first? Obviously, no alcohol.
Then you would look at sample questions, which I will send you, mm-hmm. to help you to form your own questions, to formulate your own questions. Because as I mentioned, questions are formed in a journalistic manner. Mm-hmm. We want to avoid the whys because the whys are very tied to what our ego wants. When we're asking a why question, it's coming from the mind and the ego. So we will be asking what questions, mm-hmm. What is the best kind of thing. Show me, which is what I need to know about this scenario. So those are the kind of questions we'll be using. So I'll send you a list of sample questions so it can help you to form your own questions. Then during the consultation is about an hour to an hour and a half. I access your records. We can do this over the phone. We do not have to do this in person. So this can be done over the phone, which makes it very convenient for most people. I access your records with your legal name and a special prayer. So it's called, the method that we use to access your records is called a sacred prayer process. So those two, the legal name plus the prayer are the keys to opening your records or your book of life. And then you would then be addressing what we call the masters and the teachers, who are the keepers of the records, and asking them whatever questions you're bringing to the table, whatever questions you need clarity on or guidance on.
I have two very good questions on this. First of all, who are the keepers of our records? What is that? Who are they? Or
they are like archangels. That's kind of the best way to describe archangels, light beings who provide the protection for the records. Because of course we don't want to. This is sacred information, mm-hmm. So we don't want to have just about anyone stumbling into these records willy-nilly for whatever egoic purposes. Mm. We want to keep them sacred so that they can be of guidance and assistance rather than for using it in not so the right proper way. Let's put it that way.
And these keepers of the records are keeping our book of life. You've mentioned the book of life many times. What is our book of life, or my book of life, or your book of life?
Okay, so it's kind of a simple way to describe what our records are. So the Akashic records are the etheric library, like I mentioned, of it's the living history of the universe, and many socio-religious groups and cultural groups have referred to the Akashic records by various names. In Christianity, it's referred to as the Book of Life.
Mm-hmm.
In the Jewish religion, it's referred to as the Book of Remembrance. Egyptians call it the Repository of Thoth. And then it's also referred to as the Universal Mind, the Infinite Intelligence, these different names. Book of Life just simply means that they're your own personal records that have been, that it's the record of your soul's journey. It's the record of your soul's journey.
Okay,
so that's why I call it your Book of Life.
It's a collection of my past experiences.
Precisely, a collection of your past
decisions.
experiences, decisions, thoughts, information that could be relevant or that is relevant for the present, and information, the infinite potential for the future. Because the future is not written in stone. The future is created based on what we're thinking, doing now. The decisions we make now, it's created based on what we do now. So infinite potential for the future, because you will create your own future.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's break down. Let's go back to the process. We sidetracked, but they were needed questions. So we sit down. We go over about an hour and a half of a consultation.
Yes.
You're accessing the records.
Yes.
And now in that, then you talked about a session where I'm going to be talking, or I'm going to be asking the questions myself.
Right. It's that same hour and a half. So
Okay.
you bring whatever questions you want clarity on or guidance on, and it's usually what we do is we break it down by topic.
Mm-hmm.
So we would say it's going to be either relationships. The topic is going to be relationships or career, work, business, that kind of thing. Familial relationships, romantic relationships, whatever it is. And then, so then we bring maybe 3 or 4 questions. And that sounds like it's not a lot, but trust me, 1 hour goes very quickly with those 3 questions, because you go very deep. You're going to be asking the question, I don't know, let's say you're having difficulty in a romantic relationship. And you've realized, understand that there's a level of spiritual maturity that happens here. So the person who's coming for a consultation is coming with a level of spiritual maturity where they're owning their responsibility for their own life. So in the case of, let's say, having problems in a romantic relationship, so they will say, okay, I've traced the problems that I'm having in my romantic relationship to the fact that it's based on repetitive patterns. I have repetitive patterns that, I keep choosing or behaving this way, whatever the case might be, and it leads to problems in my relationships. So, please, we need to trace to the core where these repetitive patterns are from. Are they learned behavior that I learned at a young age or a little bit older, from society, from family, from wherever? Or are they probably something that's from a different experience, a past experience? And so we will ask these questions and then trace it to where the core of it is. Once we've figured out where this comes from, then we can get information on how to heal it and shift it. So that's pretty much kind of sort of what the consultations are about.
And then so obviously this is a very personal consultation, though.
Yes, it is.
So when I'm asking these questions, the records are speaking through you, or you're speaking from what you're seeing in the records, or how is that feeling? How is that going?
So you are asking the questions, and I'm kind of like a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a reporter that's taking your question, reporting it to the masters and teachers, or reporting it to the records, and then the records. That sounds kind of spooky, but the masters and teachers will check your book of life, and will relay the answers back through me. So I am like a reporter. This is light language, So I'm receiving light language, and then I translate it into our human language, and then give you the answer, relate the answer to you. This is not channeling. It's not like channeling of any form. My voice doesn't change. My demeanor doesn't change. We're having a conversation. That's what it is. It's like having a conversation.
Okay.
So,
and you've mentioned before about different religions. Do you
Yes.
have to follow a certain religion to be a part of this? Like if I was Christian or Jewish, does it matter?
no, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with religion. It is, we are aspects of God. Let's put it that way. We are aspects of God, and in this lifetime, we're co-creating our experience here on life, and with God. So, accessing our Akashic records is as close as we will get to asking God for help in how to navigate life. That's kind of sort of one way of putting it. But it has no religious affiliation, and this is not about chastising. You have to live a certain way or be good or be. There is none of those things. This is simply about looking for guidance that will help you to be happy, because we erroneously believe that we're here to struggle, and that's not true. We're here to enjoy life. Life is supposed to be fun.
No, I definitely agree with that one. I mean, and then, is there anything else after the process? Is there a follow up that I would need to do with you, or so obviously we've gone over that initial meeting. We've gone through all the records. We've asked all the questions. Do we meet regularly? Do we never see each other again? How does it work after that?
And that's the beauty of doing an Akashic record consultation. If you will walk away from a consultation with workable answers. So there's an energetic aspect to this where there is healing and shifting that will be occurring while we're having that conversation. Because from the moment that you make up your mind that you want to ask these questions, I'm having repetitive patterns, I'm having problems in my relationships, and I trace this to this, I want to heal this. So you're coming with this, and this will be honored. There will be healing and shifting that will be happening at that consultation. Additionally, you will walk away with workable answers, like, okay, we recommend that you implement, these,
whatever the records
come up with, in order to avoid or to heal this, so you can walk a clearer path, live with more joy, live in more joy. So you have that. There is absolutely no reason to follow up on that same question. So it is not necessary to have an Akashic record consultation often.
Okay.
In fact, I wouldn't even recommend it. You can do this once a year, once every 6 months. I mean, if when you walk away from that consultation, it takes you, let's say in 6 months, you are so clear that repetitive pattern is no longer an issue. Now, maybe you've encountered something else. So in 6 months, maybe you can come back for a consultation on something else.
But once you've gotten the records, the records aren't going to change. It's the same. It's the same thing over and over again.
Well, it's going to be a different answer for whatever is questioned.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the same answer. But if I'm asking the same questions, I'm just going to hear the same answer.
In fact, you might not get an answer. Because the masters and teachers will say, come on, didn't you learn this before? We already answered that question. So no, this is not about creating dependency in any way, shape, or form. You come, you get your answer, you move on.
Okay. Wow. We only have a couple minutes left. Is there any experiences that have really touched you? I'm not asking to give you any names or anything like that, but is there anything that you've really taken from this and was like, wow, I'm so glad I do this?
It happens all the time, Tommy. All the time. I mean, I taught a level 2 class this past weekend. I just taught a level 2 class this past weekend. And the amazing aha moments that a couple of the students were having is just, I could have just cried, but, it's rewarding. It's not pride or ego or anything. It's just extremely rewarding to know and to witness, to know that this helps people, and to witness their shifts and their, So these people were taking a level 2 class, which means that now they can serve as consultants to others and help others on their journey. But to witness the amazing shifts that they were having in that class was just absolutely powerful. So all the time I get I have all sorts of stories. It would take more than 2 minutes. I have several stories.
Well, that's listen. That means we need to have you back.
Yes,
That means
I would love that.
This has been a fantastic time. Before you go, you have an event coming up on the 17th. Is that right? Or no, May 12th.
12th. Yes.
You have an event coming up on May 12th called the Holistical Medical Physical Expo. Can you explain a little bit about that and what you have going on and everything like that?
Sure. The Holistic and Metaphysical Expo of the Palm Beaches is going to be on May 12th. I believe it's from 9 until 6. And what it is a group of us got together, and it's actually spearheaded by a gentleman by the name of Ed Dolezal. And so we got together and created this expo, and our motto is by locals for locals, because a lot of expos will bring in talent who are not local, and so you want to work with these people, but they're
They're nearby.
And so, of course, we can work via internet and whatever, we can do all that, but it is always good to have people here locally who you know that you can, even though we can do the work over the phone, if you wanted to, you could meet them in person. So I'll be at the expo. I'll have a booth at the expo. And I encourage people to come by and meet everyone who's going to be there.
Perfect.
And then I teach classes as well.
All right. Well, real quick before you get out of here, let everybody know where they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely.
How can everybody get a hold of you?
They can call me at 561-945-1108 or check my website, which is askyourbook.com. And if they encounter any challenges with the website, it is under renovation.
It's under, but that should be fixed today.
But that will be fixed today or by
tomorrow.
tomorrow, right?
Okay. So as long as we have all that set up, Julie, I want to thank you very, very much. Everybody out there has learned a lot from, especially someone like me. I've learned a lot about this process and everything about it. Thank you very much for sharing that. When we come back, we're going to have Susan Wachtel. I'm going to get it right eventually, I promise. We're going to have Susan. We're going to talk a little bit about divorce, and we'll be right back right after this.
Thank you, Doc.
Attention all South Florida business owners. Are you ready for the summer? My name's Tom Hibbert, and I am the host of Soflo Mixers. We create networking events from Palm Beach Gardens all the way down to Fort Lauderdale, and we create fun, engaging, and more importantly, effective events to help network. And we want to network with you. Check out our next event on Facebook.com/Soflo Mixers or text Soflo, SOFLO, to 80800. Check us out. Calling all business owners. Are you looking to share and grow your business? We're looking to connect other business owners with other business owners. For more information, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Soflo Mixers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Tom Hibbert, and I am the host of the Soflo Business Corner. We are back again with Susan Wachtel.
Yes.
Did I say it right this time?
You did say it right.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. And Susan, let's go a little bit about what you do.
I'm a licensed clinical social worker, psychotherapist, and I have a practice in Boca, private practice, and I work with individuals, families, couples on a myriad of life's problems, challenges. So from divorce, dealing with losing a loved one and grief, empowerment, career shifts, anything that can happen in our lives. I try to teach and help people how to get through them and learn the tools.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
About 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had a practice in Long Island for a long time, and I moved here 4 years ago.
What brought you down here?
The great weather.
Oh. You tired of shoveling that snow?
Yeah, and slipping on ice isn't really fun anymore.
No.
Yeah.
I lived in Connecticut for a little bit, and I'm very glad to be living here now.
Oh, I'm thrilled every day. Paradise. Yeah.
So, what got you into becoming to doing this? Because this obviously we've spoken a few times about this.
Yeah.
You are very, very passionate about this.
Oh, I am. I love what I do.
What brought you into this realm?
So when I was in my early 20s, I lived in Manhattan, and I was married to a divorce attorney, and that didn't go very well. And And we had a child, and we ended up in a really horrible divorce.
Oof.
And it was brutal, and he represented himself, and I really had never been to therapy, knew really what therapy was. And back in the day, you could take your child and go away with them. It wasn't considered kidnapping.
Oh.
And so he did that, and he disappeared for about 8 months with my son. And I found a therapist, and she saved my life. And she really helped me cope and get through it. And from that planted the seed that I wanted to help other people get through that process.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you came out of it.
Yeah.
It seems like you came out of that as a stronger person.
Oh my God, yes. I learned all the coping skills, and then I did find my son 8 months later. He was 3.5 years old. And so then it was getting him through having been through that. And so through that experience and all the therapy I had, I learned really that it doesn't have to be so terrible. It can be loving, it can be friendly. And that life experience was priceless.
I mean, not at that time, but yes, no.
No, priceless in helping other people at this point.
That's No, that's a fantastic thing. I've mentioned before a little bit. I mean, I've been a product of divorce, and but not to the level that not to any of that level. It's just both my parents have been divorced twice. It's just one of those things.
I think my mother was divorced about 4 or 5 times.
Oh wow!
So I'm like a pro. But the good news is I'm married now 32 years, so I learned to get it right. Yeah.
Congratulations! And how old is your son now?
He'll be 40 in January. So it's a long time ago. But that's how I got started, and I realized the powerfulness of helping someone. And now when I get couples that come in, I do work with couples, and I do a strategic therapy. We're trying to help them communicate and figure out how to resolve conflicts and fight in a healthy way. But if they do end up going through that divorce process, I really am emphatic about helping them get through it without the anger and the hostility and all that pain, and really protecting the children in the process.
That's an amazing thing, and I think that subject in general is something that is now more focused on. When people get married and they realize divorce is a possibility, they realize stuff about, like, I've already spoken to my wife about not that we're getting divorced anytime soon or anything like that, but it's we have a plan in place of what would happen if, just in case, God forbid, something happens.
In Long Island, I did see couples even in advance of getting married. So if there were conflicts, like they couldn't figure out differences, or they didn't know how to fight, like there's rules to fighting, like sticking to the topic, never fighting when you're angry, which sounds kind of silly, but when you're angry, you're not going to really figure anything out. You need to calm down, and just teaching them the strategies on how to get along and, the tools to deal with it. Yeah. I
mean, listen, there's so many things that people do the wrong way, and there's still a lot of old school thinking out there. Sure. I'm the man, I do this, and you do that.
Most people follow either what was modeled for them, their parents, or they are run on emotion. So when you come into counseling, whether you're going through a divorce, I've even worked with couples that are already divorced and are fighting all the time and really putting the kids in the middle, which is very damaging to the kids, and teaching them how to work together and be partners and get that ego out of there and the anger and the pain. Yeah, and just try to, and then it really does work. I've seen people work through it and get through the process and not ruin the children.
And I want to touch on this briefly, but with the children, is there a lot of grief? Go ahead and pull the mic a little closer to you. Is there a lot of grief that comes from? The children that need to be resolved sometimes from these divorces?
Yes, there's a lot of damage that can be done. There's something called parental alienation, and that's when one parent really hates the other parent and tries to poison the child against that parent. And children are very loyal, and they want to feel safe, so they will unfortunately align with the poisoning parent. And it's just really damaging for everybody. If you can go through the process and not, I've seen families live a block apart, share the parenting, be friendly, move on, and everyone's okay through that process.
I bet that's a little hard sometimes, depending on how they break up and how things happen. And
of course.
That takes a lot of time to kind of work through that, I bet.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little tough.
Definitely.
So what with everything that you do now, where are you located? How can people hear about you and find out?
I have a private practice in Boca on Powerline Road, and I work by appointment. I work with families, individuals, and they just call me, contact me with my phone number or on my website, and come in.
Perfect. Well, what's your website? What's your phone number? What's your website?
Oh.
Well, we're going to put it out a couple times so people can get a hold of you.
So it's boca-therapy.com, and that'll give you an idea of what I do and my style. I have an eclectic approach. I like to really teach coping skills and things like that you can leave my office with a bunch of tools. My phone number is 631-525-3646. And it's my cell phone. I answer. I have a concierge practice, which means that I don't take on a lot of people. I don't accept insurance. And this way, if you're having a crisis or an issue, you can always reach me, which I think is really important when you're going through stuff.
Yeah, it seems, especially with the way insurance is. Can't help you because there's insurance involved.
Correct.
They're not going to pay me, that kind of thing.
Right, and then they limit the amount of times you can have the visits, and I just like to have my own private way of doing it and being available for people because I know that I needed someone when I was going through it.
And it seems in general that it's a lot, it's with what you do, it seems because of the passion, because of your experience, it seems like you're a little bit more hands-on. I mean, from our conversations that we've had before this and what we're hearing now.
And I'm hands-on with every category that I do with people, whether it's grieving. There's so many families now losing children to addiction and empowerment, the inner critic, all of that negative thinking. So whatever I do, whether it's somebody going through addiction, withdrawal, whatever, I try to be hands-on.
That's awesome. Yeah. What I'm going to do is this. Let's go to a break real quick. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to dive a little bit deeper into the divorce process and what people can avoid, what common things people do by accident. Okay. And then we'll go for a little bit more. Sure. We're sitting here with Suzanne Wachtel. We're going to be right back right after this. Attention all South Florida business owners. Are you ready for the summer? My name's Tom Hibbert, and I am the host of Soflo Mixers. We create networking events from Palm Beach Gardens all the way down to Fort Lauderdale, and we create fun, engaging, and more importantly, effective events to help network. And we want to network with you. Check out our next event on Facebook.com/Soflo Mixers or text Soflo, SOFLO, to 80800. Check us out. Welcome back to the Soflo Business Corner. If you want to join the show, call 1-888-565-1470. We want to hear from you. Once again, that number is 1-888-565-1470. Now let's get back to the show. Welcome back. My name's Tom Hibbert, and I am the host of the Soflo Business Corner. We're sitting here with Suzanne Wachtel. She is a social worker, a psychotherapist.
Yes.
That is hands-on on the divorce process, addiction, grieving. It's absolutely fantastic. Something that we were actually talking about during the break was you were talking about the four-way.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Yes, the four-way is what I love to do in relationships and couples. I know it sounds a little sexy, but it's really not. It's I really believe when a couple's having issues, you each need your individual counselor, therapist. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite way to really address and tackle couples' problems is the four of us get together in the room. So there's not just one therapist, that you can't help but kind of lean towards one side or the other. And this way that can't happen. You each have your individual representation, and you talk about the issues in the relationship, and the two therapists are there to represent the patients. And then what happens is afterwards, you get to see them in action, how they relate. And then you can take them individually back into your own sessions and work on what the problems are.
So let me make sure I understand this. So it would be you and another therapist.
Right. And or like if I was your therapist and your wife had her therapist, the four of us would get together and do the counseling session.
Wow. And then what do you find in that four-way setting? Is it because obviously everything that when some people are talking to you, it's obviously emotional. So it's kind of hard to discern that side of it.
Well, the therapist and I will dialogue and model for the couple how to do it. So we'll say, like, my client patient is feeling misunderstood, and his wife is not really answering him or being demeaning to him, and then she'll reply, well, what do you mean? And then we'll kind of be able to talk about it.
You can kind of guide the conversation.
Correct.
So that if it starts getting off the rails, essentially the therapist, or like you're kind of like act as like lawyers for each other.
Exactly. And you each have representation, right? So it's fair.
And even.
So even if I agreed with you and not her, she has her to agree with her. So there's no like, oh, she likes you better. There's a conflict here. So that four-way really gets to the crux of what the problems are and helps us get the couple on track to avoid the divorce.
Well, it also avoids the like you said, it avoids that, oh, well, she likes you better, she's just going with your side. No, that can't happen, because if you have two people saying that, oh, you might be wrong on this, how can you say it's a bias thing? That's not the case.
Correct. And when I do family counseling sessions, let's say there's a young adult who's having issues with the parents. The young adult will have their therapist, and maybe I'll represent the parents and work with them. And then when we get together, we're all in the room, so that the child has their therapist to help them and represent them and support them, and I have the parents to help explain the parents. So I just find that the more the merrier. The goal is for everyone to be happy, to feel understood, to feel heard, and to resolve the conflicts and learn how to do that.
No, listen, there's so much to unpack in just those types of situations.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time? And once again, I don't want any names or anything like that. But not that you would.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Just what is there? Have you seen some real serious changes that have resulted from people sitting with you, and what have you seen and that kind of thing?
I have seen, in sometimes a matter of here's the whole point. If people really do have a love for each other and they're just getting caught up in the day-to-day arguments and conflicts and struggles, and they don't know how to get past it, they sit in the anger. So I have seen within 1 or 2 sessions, if a couple really wants to make it work and really do love each other, to learn how to let go of it, learn how to really hear what's going on and accept, not as a criticism, but as a problem for the other person and what they need them to do to be happy in the relationship, and vice versa, and to make the changes. Change is really tough. Like, it's so hard to change ourselves. Imagine trying to change someone else. Especially
if it's pent up for years and they're just stewing in their own anger at the time.
And a lot of my shock therapy would be, well, we can always get a divorce. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if it doesn't resolve, eventually it'll end up in a divorce. So if you want to avoid a divorce, resolving these issues now will really hopefully prevent that from happening.
And do you find sometimes that divorce is actually the right option for some people?
Yes. I had a couple that were the wife was so abusive verbally, and even in the four-way sessions, he would be crying and she'd be like, boo-hoo. And I'd be like, oh my goodness, no compassion, no empathy. There was really very lack of showing of love. And I said, you know what? I think, guys, a divorce would probably be a really good idea. And I never say that.
No,
yeah,
but
that's my first choice, is always to keep the family together. Yeah.
No, well, but sometimes you just have that times where people
sometimes it's the dangerous, right thing. Yeah.
Because if you get beaten down, or if you're, like you said, verbally abused and stuff like that, messing with somebody else's psyche is just not right.
And the children are watching this, so remember, they're watching the modeled behavior. So it's really important to be the best you can, especially if there's children involved.
When people are starting to experiencing these issues, what do you find is the most common thing that people are doing that might be impacting the children without them even realizing it?
Well, forgetting even the children, I see that one of the largest problems in these relationships is the telephone and the computer. People are really not talking as much anymore. They're kind of into their own little world. And I think the kids are doing it too. I've walked into, haven't you seen restaurants where you walk in, everyone's on their phone? No one's talking. So I think we really need to be careful, especially with all the technology today, to really create memories and, get back to like being a fun family. And
not too long ago, me and my wife went through a little bit of just normal stuff, normal struggles. We sat down with a counselor, and actually we were able to work through it. And it was like what you said, where you had two people that were in love with each other, just couldn't get through the days and need to learn how to actually live with each other.
Right.
And part of it was that reason right there, the communication. We stopped talking to each other, and we used technology to avoid each other.
Of course. It's a great escape.
And exactly. I mean, it's a whole world in the palm of your hand, and it's a good way to avoid. But one of the things that we've done and we've said to each other ever since that we've moved past that is we want to make sure that we give everybody time.
Of course.
So what we do is like, for example, my wife's not working tomorrow. The whole day is after I get out of work, me and her, we're just going on a date night. It's just me and her.
Oh, date night is the most important thing. Everyone has to have a date night, at least minimum one night a week.
Really? Okay.
Without friends, without your electronics, and really get dressed up and go somewhere different, even a picnic. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you need to create the memories and rituals together. And date night, you need to really like date each other and have fun.
And that's one of the things that we realized. We realized that we forgot who we were.
Happens all the time.
We had our son, I have two children. I have a son and a daughter, and we got more caught up into them than we did ourselves, and we kind of forgot each other.
And that's really bad. And people have affairs because they're so lonely and really not paying attention to each other. And before it happens, you really need to have an affair with your spouse. And call them during the day and do fun things. And I mean, my husband and I, every morning, no matter what we're doing for that day, we have coffee together outside on the terrace.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. And sometimes it's a longer coffee break, sometimes not, but we never miss that coffee. And we talk about what we're going to do, and we chat, and we try to spend the evening together. So it's important to really honor the person in your life.
Well, and to that end, me and my wife also made the decision to do the same thing with our children.
Absolutely, family night, family day.
Well, what we're trying to do right now. My son is 3, and my daughter is 1.5.
Okay.
But what we plan on doing is taking them individually as well.
That's the best.
And so for example, this a couple weeks ago, we went. My son, and my wife. We went up to Orlando and we went to Disney, and we made him. He directed us instead of us saying, "Oh, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to here." The whole thing was, "What do you want to do?" And we would give him little ideas of what you want, but he would go, "Okay, I want to do that," and then he would direct us and drive us. We literally were just at his expense, and we stayed in. We wanted to go everywhere and have him see everything, but he didn't want to do that, so we didn't do that. We just made the whole day literally about him, and he loved it. I mean, he's still talking about it.
So honoring somebody, showing them love, making them feel special, that's what we need to do for our children, for each other, and for ourselves. We need those days for ourselves too, to really, take care of us. And it's important.
No, absolutely. And going through, and obviously when things with the divorce process. So obviously we talked about what happens when people start not listening to each other and stuff like that. But obviously now a couple has decided it's time for divorce. That's just not working.
The car's totaled, nothing can be repaired.
Yeah. And so where do you see the biggest mistakes with that? Like people accidentally involving the kids or whatever.
Well, I think it's really important to go to therapy when you're going through the divorce. Otherwise, you can get caught up. There are some attorneys that are really litigators, and they want to fight. Every fight is worth about $1,000 to them. So if you choose an attorney that really is about the family and doesn't want to create drama and build their bank account at your expense, You know, and the counseling is good because it'll keep you grounded. I mean, I've worked with lots of families and the children during the process. So when they've hit a bump, they come in, we talk about it, when feelings are hurt or someone's feeling neglected, and just nip it in the bud and have everyone communicating and talking about their feelings.
So you're talking, let's do preventative measures.
Or during, just to keep, I mean, I have lawyers that will call me during and just say, listen, my, client's out of control. They need to come in and talk to you. And then I'll come in like, why are you so angry? Let's keep it calm. The goal is to get to the other end, to not hate each other, but to try to become friendly and learn how to partnership. You have children. You're always going to be the mother. You're always going to be the father. You can't make enemies. That puts the child in the middle.
And is there anything specific where the child, like being a product of a child thing? Like, I mean, I grew up as the oldest, so me and my sisters really don't remember. They were young enough to not really remember the full story, but I remember everything. And it's like, for example, like I'm moving past it, but there's resentment towards my mom sometimes. There's resentment more towards my dad sometimes. And both my sisters were in a stage where they didn't know what was going on.
So I'll tell you a story. So the biggest mistake is bad-mouthing the other parent in an earshot of your child, or even doing it in general. And I think it was very common that people do that. So when I was going through my divorce, my son at the time was like 3.5, maybe 4. And I was on the phone and saying what a jerk he is, and he did this and that, and not even thinking my son could hear me. And I'm sure when he was at his father had plenty to say that he was hearing. And he comes and he taps my leg. I'm like, what is it? He goes, Mommy, I have a heart. Half of my heart loves you, and half of my heart loves my dad. And when you say mean things, it hurts inside. It feels like it's breaking in half. It's like, oh, my God. And he said, and when Dad says mean things about you, it really hurts, too. Well, that was the last time I did that.
Well, I mean, obviously, when you're emotional, sometimes when you're on the phone, all of a sudden you forget who's around you, or even you forget sometimes that your son or your daughter isn't really supposed to be that earpiece.
Yeah.
But sometimes your emotions get a hold of you. Yep. I mean, my dad had a very strict rule with himself. He never said a negative word ever. Well, he went out of his way at times to make sure that nothing
from that
was
day
found.
on, I followed your dad's example. I had no idea that he was feeling that way or that it was hurting him, but it really does hurt them because you're both a part of them, whether you like each other or not. You're both a part of this child. So
no, it's a
big responsibility.
Yeah, and I thinking back in my time, that it's something that touches me personally. Thinking that, knowing that, going from there.
Do they get along now? Like, do they have a good relationship?
They actually have a very good relationship now.
Doesn't that make you feel better?
Oh, absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely. And it's a nice way of going about it. We don't have much time though.
Okay.
This half hour has gone by like that. Go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you again.
The best way is through my phone because, like I said, I have a concierge service. I answer the phone. You leave me a message, I'll call you back. It's 631-525-3646.
And then you have a website as well.
Yes, if you want to check me out and check out my style and what I do, it's boca-therapy.com. boca-therapy.com. Yep.
Suzanne, this was an absolute delight. I'm so glad to be a part of this. Is there anything real quick that we might have missed, or anything you have coming up that we need to know about?
I have 2 workshops, but one is Camp Powerman in September. I'm doing a grief workshop there for a long women's weekend, and Ultimate Exuma in the Bahamas in November.
Perfect. So. Well, listen, we'll have you come back before that so we can let everybody know about that.
Thank you.
Guys, we are going to be back again next week. Same time, same channel. I'm so excited to be a part of this, and we'll see you again next week. My name's Tom Hibbert. I want to thank you for joining the show today. Make sure to join us next week, where we're going to help you share and grow your business.